What is going on, everyone? It is Rob and Jonny. Welcome to actually episode 27 of the MMArcade podcast. Touch wood, Rob. I hope this podcast works, bro.
Mate, you and me both. We actually lost an episode last week just because, like, for whatever reason, and fingers crossed this episode that the screen camera kept freezing after every so often. So I don't know. I did some updates. I'm using my old computer, and there's cables everywhere. I'm just trying, to get the episode out to make it work. Hopefully, I'll have something in the works coming soon, and I can let you guys know my new specs. But here we are, still trying. Battling on.
Dude, it was actually not so bad because we managed to save the most important segment from last week. And the video ended up doing all right. So, like, every now and again, if we're short on time, we might do like a shorter mini cast and put that out because at least you get something if it's not the full episode,
Yeah. And you guys let us know if you guys are interested in breaking the podcast up. We like running it the way we are, like where we have our fight segment, then our game segment. But if you guys are interested in breaking up the casts, let us know. As you guys already know, we base the podcast largely on the comments and the feedback and the suggestions you guys give us in the comments. So let us know.
For sure. So let's start off talking about the latest UFC fight night. We're going to be recapping, in particular, Brendan Allen versus Paul Craig. I'm going to say Paul Craig. I swear, Americans, you say Paul Craig. I have no idea what's the correct pronunciation, but Paul Craig, that's how we say it in Australia. He was defeated by Brendan Allen, specifically by submission, at 38 seconds of the third round. Rob, I think you just watched this, so it's fresh in your mind. What did you think of Brendan Allen versus Paul Craig?
Yep. I missed it on the day, unfortunately, but I did catch up yesterday, just now. And in regards to Paul Craig, I don't think he's American, so
it's definitely Paul Craig. Good, not Craig.
I reckon it's Craigie. You know what I mean? But the fight, Paul Craig's one of those dudes. Honestly, I don't know. If I would have broken down this fight before seeing it, I would have said Paul Craig is a bit too ploddy on his feet, relies too much on his reach, but he doesn't have enough movement. And he obviously invests heavy into his grappling game. He's very good off his back. I think grappling off your back is a terrible place to be in MMA. And,
I agree.
And he's a dude that has like hardcore evidence that is a bad place to be. This isn't the first time he's like pulled guard or just played on the bottom and just gotten beat up. Like that's what happened for 2 rounds. Brendan Allen obviously did the good reversal. He's very good at that. What's it called? That sweep. The Hiraguchi, maybe? Haraguchi? I don't know. Something like that. Yeah. Anyway, he's very good at that. He's very good at that sweep off the fence. Got into mount, then obviously half guard and just controlled Brendan Allen there. But you could see how accepting Brendan Allen was. Not Brendan Allen, Paul Craig was. Yeah, to be on the bottom because obviously he invests heavily into his bottom game. He likes it, and given he's very dangerous there, but it's a bad place to be in MMA, and his face showed and paid for that.
Dude, it was like I was getting frustrated for him because he was so comfortable on the bottom, and I get it, like the way that he's able to control too comfortable. I agree. The way that he was able to control Allen's legs to try and prevent as many of the the elbows in the ground and pound as possible, that was impressive. And in particular, do you remember that sequence from the first round where he went for the calf slice and then Allen reversed that into an almost rear naked choke? That was the coolest bit of jiu-jitsu MMA that I've ever seen. I freaking love that. But the problem is. Not ever. No, I embellish facts a little bit, but it was very, very cool to see. But the problem is that you can't do that forever. And then eventually, Allen, how brutal was that elbow that just cut him open? It was insane. You can't just be on your back the entire fight. I don't know. I get frustrated watching him fight.
You're 100% right there, Jonny. You are 100% right there. We'll make an MMA coach out of you yet, right? Because It is a bad place to be. It's a bad place to be. Understandably, there are guys that play back and they're very good. There's a lot of submissions, a lot of wins from there. But I think generally speaking, bad place to be. Brendan Allen, I think he's a taller guy. He's obviously got a really wide base. He's a terror on top. You can see with his submission streak that's going on right now and the way he controls people on the ground. He's got jiu-jitsu. He's got game there, and he uses that to great advantage. And more or less, he beat up Brendan Allen. He beat up Paul Craig for 2 rounds and then submitted him in the 3rd.
Yeah, man. And this is Paul Craig. I think people seem to forget. I also forgot. This is a guy that has victories against Jamal Hill, against Mauricio Rua. He is a very, very accomplished fighter. He's obviously getting on a little bit. So this is a huge, huge win for Brendan Allen. And now it's called into question, who does he fight next? He is looking for a number 1 contenders fight now. People are speculating, does he fight Vettori, Costa, Cannonier? Someone said your name, and I said, that's a dumb idea. But who do you
I'm pretty sure
think?
he said my name.
Did he actually?
Yeah.
He's on a streak, but come on. I don't know. Who do you think he should fight next?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he in his speech he said he wants to fight a contender. He wants to fight me or Cannonier and yada yada yada. It's hard to say. Is he? I think he's number 10 now. He's number 10 now. He's obviously just broken into those top guys. I don't know. I'm not a matchmaker. Paul Craig wasn't a 10th ranked dude. He wasn't in the top 10 rankings. So he's got to have his bite still, I guess. The top 10 fights. Just do your work. UFC realize that, recognize that. The matchmakers are there. Sure. I don't know. I don't know who he fights next. To be honest, I don't care.
Yeah, fair. If I was to play matchmaker, if I was to play matchmaker, he's currently 8th, so he's moved up 2 spots. Technically, he's ahead of Chimaev, which is freaking hilarious. Can I be real, bro? If we're saying that Khamzat Chimaev shouldn't fight for the title next, and he's not now anymore, we'll talk about that in a second. I actually think Brendan Allen's a good shout, but if it's not Chimaev, and Dolidze already has another fight organized, and Costa obviously didn't fight against Chimaev, probably Costa or Vettori. That would be my guess.
Yeah, Costa's a mad fight for him. Jeez, yeah, Costa's a mad fight for him. I just want to see Costa actually fight, get in.
When
there
does he ever fight, bro? When does this guy actually fight?
When? He's man.
Actually insane.
Yeah, he's all about just sound bites.
And tweets. Have you seen that guy's Twitter? He tweets out the weirdest stuff, man.
It's out of control.
It is. But all right, well, let's see who Brendan Allen fights next. It was a pretty impressive performance against Paul Craig. And Paul, I honestly don't know what he does next. But let's move on now. Yeah, go on.
Can I ask, was it an impressive performance against Paul Craig? Because I feel like Paul Craig is one of those guys that when he's on, he's on. He fights people, but the likes of Jamal Hill, Rua. He fights he fights and beats really high level dudes. And then when he's not on, he just gets absolutely smashed. He gets smoked. I feel like we don't see anything out of him. Because that showing of his, yesterday, day before, it was a bad showing. It was a bad showing.
I agree.
I don't think he did anything. I don't think he landed a punch, and then he stayed on the bottom. He attempted a calf slice in round 1.
Which was cool. I'll be real. That was cool, but that was the one highlight from him.
Yeah, calf slices are one of those things, though. It's not a jointy sort of pain, so you kind of it's a hard submission to finish a guy off. Unless you were in that position where Dolidze did it against Hermanson, where you use the calf slice to get on top and then just lay heavy leather, dude. It's one of those submissions that's if you can put up with pain, you're gonna usually get through it, I guess.
Yeah,
but I don't know. I don't know.
I would say it's a victory that was expected, especially against someone that was so willing to lie on his back. Even though Paul Craig has the wins that he does, I would still say it was impressive on Brendan Allen's side because he actually finished the fight. Was going for 5 rounds. He finished it pretty dominantly in the 3rd.
He did.
But I still do think that he needs another fight in order to try and get into that contention space. There are too many people, especially even in the top 5 alone, but even above him in 7th and 6th, that are still a step ahead of him. I think he needs to slow down a little bit and get a step up fight against, I would say, Costa. I think Costa needs to freaking get back in the cage, bro.
Yeah, it seems like that dude's always free anyway. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah. Man. Anyway, let's move on to some more general UFC news. This is UFC news, mind you, that we couldn't talk about like 2 weeks ago or so when it actually came out. So we want to quickly go through a few of these. So there were a bunch of title fight announcements, and Rob, I want to get your opinion on a few of them. So again, first of all, middleweight, your division, Sean Strickland's going to be fighting Dricus du Plessis on January 20 as part of UFC 297. What do you think of that fight?
Yeah, I'm interested in that fight. I think, it just, top of my head, I would have to say Sean pieces him up 5 rounds, wins by decision. Dricus is a tough dude. Don't see him going anywhere. But I also thought Izzy was going to outpoint him, right? Yeah. And Dricus is awkward. He's unorthodox, and he's tough as nails. He's going to come into this fight ready for the dogfight that Dricus likes to make it. But in saying that, Dricus is actually really good at keeping that space, that distance, keeping on the end of his jabs and just keeping that high-pressure volume going. So I'm curious. Top of my head, I'd have to say Sean would be the favorite. Going into this fight, he'd be the safer pick. But, Dricus has surprised people before. He surprised me.
I wasn't going to mention it, but you did. Yeah, I would agree. I think Sean is definitely the favorite on this one, especially after how he performed against Izzy. Like that was so out of nowhere, so unexpected. But it's, at least I would say this, I prefer this than seeing Chimaev in there straight away. Now, Chimaev's probably nursing that injury with his wrist or hand or whatever he did in his previous fight against Usman. This is the better matchup to make, and the division is open now. Like, I'm actually enjoying how open the middleweight division is now, especially if Izzy's going away for a few years. Like, I know he joked about it, but he's definitely going to be away for a little bit now.
Yeah, definitely. I'm very happy with the movement. There's a lot of spaces. There's a lot of people moving around, looking for fights.
Mm-hmm.
But there's movement. There's movement. And I think it's good movement. It's good for the division, where the division got a little stuck there for a while.
Yeah. Next fight that we have to talk about is Alexander Volkanovski against Ilia Topuria, fighting at UFC 298 on February 17. Now, obviously, I think this was originally planned for January. Seems to be pushed out a month. Hopefully that helps Volk, recover from his previous loss. But what do you think of this fight?
It's tricky because you don't know what the way he lost last fight, if that'll affect him in any way. Before that last loss against Makhachev, Volk was unstoppable, and everyone would have said so. Volk, no one would have second guessed him. No one would have second guessed his reign. And then to a degree, I still don't. I think in his division, he's been a monster. There hasn't really been anyone that's come close. And having a loss like that, the way it happened with Makhachev, I don't know. He also opened up after the fight. So there's things there. But you don't know. Headspace is such a big part of the fight world and the fight game. Yeah. So I guess seeing how he deals with all of that, puts it all together, packages it all, and comes in. Because honestly, a Volk that's on, sound everywhere, doesn't lose to anyone in that division. He's been a monster in that division, running rampant for ages. So, yeah. I would still think he'd be the favorite, though. Sorry.
Yeah. No, I think he is the favorite. It's the question mark now, though, given the manner in which he lost. And because Ilia Topuria is such a knockout artist, like he's such an awesome striker. I was watching a few of his highlights before. I would still say, though, I think the chances are Volk did what he did last time when he lost against Makhachev. Again, it wasn't as convincing of a loss the previous time, but he came back and he dominated in his return title defense. And I hope that I see that for one, but I actually do think that we're going to see that. But Topuria Probably, I'd say this, Rob, probably the worst matchup that Volk could ask for right now, given what happened with Makhachev.
Definitely. And Topuria is only working head kicks at the moment. Because that's been there. It's been there on Volk for
forever.
A lot. Yeah, forever. A lot of his fights have been pointed out a lot of times. He's susceptible to that kick. So maybe it was a good thing that it happened because it exposed him, and now he's going to address it.
Yeah.
Or we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, let's wait and see. That one's in February. And the next one, which is on March 9 at UFC 299, Sean O'Malley versus Chito Vera. The rematch. Dude, I'm actually very excited for this one. I was recently watching a few Sean O'Malley fights, even his first fight in the UFC. That dude just has this capacity to completely fold people. Mm-hmm. But obviously Chito Vera has his number. It's going to be a very, very good fight. What do you reckon?
Yeah, Sean O'Malley has an uncanny way of finding the knockout point. Of finding his mark, that target. Yeah. I mentioned it before he fought Sterling. Aljamain. Sterling. I mentioned it before he fought Sterling that he has an uncanny ability to find his mark, to find that knockout. And I don't think it'll be any difference in this fight, but I do think there is going to be like a mental thing at play because I don't know. I saw the face off between Chito and Sean, and dude, Chito Vera looks mean. He's
a killer, bro. I swear,
absolutely psycho. And you can tell in his eyes that he's looking at Sean like, I've beaten you once.
Yep.
And I'll beat you again. And, mate, I'm so for this fight. Because we obviously didn't get to see how that fight would have played out going longer with the injury to his leg. Yeah. But then Chito was kicking him.
Well, like what? Exactly. Of course he was. Like the leg went out for a reason, right?
Yeah. I'm so for this fight.
Yeah, I really do think. To be fair, I backed Sterling in the last fight, and Sean O'Malley completely surprised me. So there is a good chance that he'll do it. But if I was going to give an early prediction, I'd say Chito because Chito's been impressive. Obviously, he lost against Sandhagen by split decision. But I think he does have his number. I think the mental warfare is going to play a factor. This is someone that Sean lost to. Leg aside, that was caused by the kick. I think Chito has his number.
I'd love to see that, but I do think Sean, I've mentioned it a million times, he can find his mark. He can find his shot. He's so good at setting up those shots, and he can throw those shots from a lot of different angles. He's got the reach. Yeah, I think Vera has to play this fight carefully, or it's only a matter of time before Sean gets him. And I'm gonna bag Sean for this fight just because, he's got the ability.
All right. Well, those are the big title announcements that we missed out on, but we still got some other UFC news that we want to talk about. The big one by far is what is happening in the heavyweight division. So obviously Aspinall smacked Pavlovich, surprised a lot of people in doing so. Didn't surprise a lot of people because everyone knew what Aspinall, had in his arsenal. But Aspinall won. He's the interim champ. And now that he's calling for Jones to relinquish his heavyweight title, his title, because obviously he's injured. They said at least 8 months, but since he's getting a bit older now, it could actually be longer than that. And Aspinall would like to see the division move on. I agree that you can't really have an interim belt be defended. That doesn't make any sense. So I agree that the title should be relinquished. And Aspinall seems like he wants to fight Stipe and not Gane, because there's a big fight between Gane. I think in the past, Gane refused a fight from Aspinall. Now this is Aspinall getting one back on Gane. And how many title opportunities has Gane had in the past 3 years? So what do you think about all of this, Rob?
Yeah, it's funny. I do agree. You can't. It's very hard to hold the division up for 8 months. For 7 months, sorry. It's asking a lot. Obviously, if he were to relinquish the title, he would slot straight back into that title attack, which would be essentially the same thing. But yeah, it's hard to leave a division, especially with a an interim belt for 8 months. It's going to be tricky navigating for the UFC. This is going to be one of those moments UFC are going to have to step in and either do some shenanigans people aren't happy with, or you know what I mean. It's a bit of a lose situation. I think it'd be healthier for the division to just relinquish the title and then pass it on so that he can start defending it, moving it, and that starts moving the division on. And then obviously when Jones comes back, he just slots in for that attack. But again, it's a tricky call to make from the UFC's angle.
It is tricky, but let me ask you, if it was Aljamain Sterling in this position, you think the UFC would wait for him? No
way.
Like that is the straight answer. He would not, and I don't think they would wait for anyone else, maybe aside from Jon Jones, and that's why it's being considered. I know that he's considered the GOAT, especially in Dana's eyes. I know he's done a lot for the UFC, and obviously he had such a convincing win against Gane to get the title in the first place. But if this was anyone else, that title would be relinquished because it's too long, and you can't have an interim champion defending the belt.
Yeah, but I don't know. Like, if anyone's going to get their way, it's going to be him. Like, he's probably one of the few that have actually earned the stripes.
That's true. Yeah, I'm just saying.
It's not like he's
fair.
just a champion. He was like a ridiculous amount of times defending light heavyweight champion. Like, I don't know. His service has been noted, right?
Yeah, but at the very least, like, yes. He gets stripped of the title, but as you said, he'd slot right back in, assuming that Aspinall's still there, because I reckon Aspinall would run through Stipe. You set it up for Aspinall versus Jones. The one thing that I will say is that if you're Stipe, you'd probably wait until the Jones fight because it's a bigger money fight, and I think it's so hard to say what's an easier fight because they're both crazy people, but I would say Jones against Stipe is better for Stipe than Stipe against Aspinall. It's hard to say. I don't know. I'm doubting myself saying that.
Because of money. Because contracts are negotiated before fights. They're generally not worked out fight to fight basis, unless his is, in which case, then all props to him. I wish everyone to get the most amount of money they can. But yeah, I don't know. I would tricky. Like I said, like
it is
lose sort of situation.
Yeah. And then obviously that leaves Gane probably to fight Jailton Almeida. That's going to be a very interesting fight. But the very last one, Rob, that I wanted to mention it to you is Roman Dolidze finally has an opponent. He's versing Nasruddin Imavov at a UFC event on February 3rd. Which one is that one? I think that's a fight night. It's nice to see that Dolidze had time to spend with his family during Christmas and now has the fight in the middleweight division. And Imavov is a decent fight. I'm actually looking forward to that one.
Yeah, like that just I wonder what that means for like myself and other guys up at the top. You know, obviously I'm still trying to get that Usman fight because I think that'd be sick, but I don't know whether or not he's going to stay in middleweight. Just because of the whole Colby and Leon fight, and if Colby wins, what I mean, it makes perfect sense, right? But you know, I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to that fight, and for the new year, I have a good feeling about next year. I've been training like a demon, and the division is moving, and there are names that are going to be free, so we'll be talking about that soon.
Hell yeah. No, I'm looking forward to it, man. And that is it for all of our UFC chat for today at 24 minutes or so in. Next up, we've got game news. Now, this is a topic that I wanted to talk about last week, but we're going to talk about it today. We're going to be talking about Game of the Year. Oh, go on. Yeah.
Just quickly, sorry. Just remember, guys, also these aren't our predictions. We were just literally top of the cuff talking about our first impressions on potential fights. The breakdowns happen the week before the fight, as you guys already know, as a lot of our fans know. So stay tuned for that. Yeah.
And, dude, next week's one, we have a sick fight night. Like, we have so many freaking fights. Hold on, I'm pulling it up right now. We've got Dariush against Sarukian, Hooker and Green, Font Figueiredo, Brady Gastelum. And isn't that the one, isn't Ferguson fighting as well? Against Paddy?
Oh, yeah, with Paddy. Oh, mate, I've been seeing. Have you been seeing the clips of him training with
David Goggins? What is going on
Goggins?
there?
Mate, and like it's every clip is like Goggins doing his thing, like powering up something. Like apparently they've walked 45 kilometers, done 7 billion push-ups or whatever. And like Ferguson's in the back vomiting or dying. Like every video is just Ferguson suffering and Goggins just like talking him through it. And I am so for it. I want to see a Goggins version of Ferguson come into this next fight because part of me wants to see Paddy get it right, and part of me wants to see Ferguson
Everyone does. Everyone does.
I'm so for that fight, mate. So for that fight.
Hell yeah! I made a mistake, by the way. I thought it was next week, but it's actually part of UFC 296. My apologies. So we have the fight night. In terms of our predictions, Rob, for the rest of the year, next week we'll be talking about Dariush and Sarukian. The week after that, we got Song Yadong against Chris Gutierrez to talk about. And then obviously UFC 296 to finish off the year. Edwards Covington, Pantoja against Roval, Shavkat Rakhmonov against Wonderboy, Tony Ferguson, Paddy Pimblett. We got some good episodes for the rest of the year.
What a card.
They're all awesome. They're all good cards. All right, let's talk about the games news. So we'll talk about game of the year.
1 second.
Rob.
I'm sorry to cut you off again.
You don't want to talk about game of the year. It's fine. No, it's fine.
I did it in that like this awkward quiet space. Can I go bathroom? I'm sorry.
You know I'm not cutting this out. I'm not cutting this out.
2 minutes.
I'll wait here for 2 minutes while you're gone.
Entertain them.
This is genuinely. I'm not cutting this shit out. I'm really not. I want to highlight, by the way, some of you kind of are like, oh, why do you interrupt each other? There is a bit of an internet delay, as you can kind of tell. Today it's particularly bad. It's like up to 10 seconds. It's kind of crazy. That's why we kind of interrupt each other sometimes. But I'm going to keep talking through this. Essentially, we're going to be talking about Game of the Year next and who Rob thinks should be Game of the Year. But the funniest thing is that I don't think Rob's actually played any of these games properly. It's probably going to be like some weird ass top-down isometric indie game should be Game of the Year. And let's see. Oh my God. Rob, I love you, bro. I'm going to start a timer. Hold on. Let me start a timer. All right. He says 2 minutes, right? And I've started this timer pretty late. Let's go. Timer is on. Oh, I hear noise already.
Oh my goodness. Almost didn't make it, dude.
Do you feel good? Was that a relief?
Way better.
I'm not cutting that out. It's too much work like for one, but two.
I was like stressing at the end of like the UFC segment.
Dude, it's because you drink like a giant bucket of water every podcast. Where is it? Show us your giant jug.
I'm so dehydrated, bro. Like, and I got my electrolytes here. I'm just so dehydrated.
No wonder why you go to the bathroom. It has been hot lately. All right, can we do it? Can we talk about Game of the Year, Rob?
Let's do it. Game news.
By the way, I did give them the heads up before we start that there is a bit of an internet delay. That's why we often talk over each other, but we're not actually talking over each other. It's because of the delay.
Yeah, by accident. My dad brings it up all the time. He's like, why do you keep interrupting, man? I'm like, I don't notice when there's a delay. I don't notice when he stops talking sometimes. Sometimes he's just having a breath, and I take that as a cue, and I jump in.
I reckon there's a solid today, especially. Like, when I finish talking, it takes you 5 seconds to respond. That's just like the delay that we have today, so it's kind of crazy. But your camera's working. It hasn't broken yet.
It is.
That good
it
news?
hasn't broken yet. It hasn't broken. And I am going to look up Starlink. So might help me out.
Rob, I was at JB Hi-Fi today. I walked by a Starlink product, and I was like, yeah, you need to buy that. I think you would love it. It'd be much better than what you have right now.
Elon, hit us up. Hit us
if
up.
You're watching.
Yeah, if you're watching, mate, can I please have a Starlink?
But let's talk about game of the year, all right? So at the Game Awards, that is taking place in December, Jeff Keighley has come out with all the nominees for Game of the Year this year. And Rob, this is the list from top to bottom in no particular order. Alan Wake 2, Baldur's Gate 3, Marvel Spider-Man 2, Resident Evil 4, Super Mario Bros. Wonder, and The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. I'm not going to say anything. I just want to get your thoughts. What do you think about that Game of the Year list?
I feel like there's a pretty straight winner there. I would say there's going to be a close second, and the rest are kind of just not really in the same talks.
What do you think the close second is, out of curiosity?
Tears of the Kingdom.
That's a good shout, man, because the journos love their Zelda. Every time there's a Zelda game, it's always Game of the Year.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's always whenever it launches, everyone, like, especially your cult fans, like you know who I'm talking to. You Zelda loving, Nintendo Switch playing people of the earth. Like, there's a group of you that as soon as it comes out, you're putting in 400 hours on it, right? You know the lore of every Zelda game since it started, right? So it is one of those games that just keeps on giving. It is. You can jump back into it and do something completely different. And I understand that, even though I didn't particularly love the game. I just couldn't get into it. But I understand how good it is, right? But it's not Baldur's Gate 3, dude.
It's the obvious winner, isn't it? And you've played it. I haven't played it, but yeah.
Like, hands down. Like, and it's not just me saying that as a fan. I'm a fan of obviously D&D, but I'm a fan of Larian Studios as well. But just the consensus across the board, every big player, every big streamer, every big network, it's always Game of the Year. They're still releasing builds on their channels, and their videos are still getting like 200K plus. Like, just for build videos on characters. And this is how many months afterwards? Like, it's insane. It's insane. It's insane. Not only has the game done super well, it's done super well for the community as a whole. It's shown so much light and publicity to the D&D franchise, as well as to RPGs and the stories that they bring. But also for the YouTubers that come in and make a living off these build videos and stuff like that. It's just like it's nuts. It's created like a whole economy based around a game, dude. There's no way that doesn't win Game of the Year.
No, I 100% agree. It's the clear favorite, and even it was voted in best RPG as well. It's absolutely winning that, but for sure against any of these titles. And I would say I've played a fair few of them. I haven't played Baldur's Gate 3, but I agree that has to be Game of the Year based on what I've heard, especially from you as well. But Resident Evil 4, I loved Resident Evil 4, but it's a remake, and I as much effort as they put into that title, and it's phenomenal. It looks so good, plays really well. I really enjoyed it. I personally think, because it's a remake, it probably shouldn't be in that Game of the Year list. That might be a controversial opinion, but I think that's a fair statement to say. Do you know what I mean?
Agreed. I agree. Yeah. It had its time. Yeah. I'm stoked it's back, but...
Yep. Yeah. And then I'll say this as well. I haven't played Alan Wake 2, and I know it's very good, but I saw a few people say that they think it snuck in at the end there because it came out so close to when all the journalists put in their nominations for Game of the Year. And you know what it's like? Like, when a game is fresh in your mind, you're like, oh, God, this is so good. Yeah, it's going in Game of the Year. And that might give a little bit of a bias to the games that have come out towards the second end of the year. And then you kind of forget about what's come out earlier in the year. You know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%. It's like if you dominate the fifth round.
Exactly right. Or like the latter part of a round. It's 100%. That's a good comparison. Yeah. But Tears of the Kingdom absolutely, definitely needs to be there. I agree that's a second. And I'm still playing through Spider-Man 2, and I freaking love it. I don't think it's Game of the Year, but I would say, Baldur's Gate 3 is a clear winner there.
It's got to be.
So let's move on to the second topic. This was by far last week, in the past few days even, the biggest talking point and the biggest piece of gaming news. So The Last of Us Part 2 is getting a remaster. Now, this has been a bit of a running joke with Naughty Dog because you had the first Last of Us that got remade on PlayStation 4, and then you had the other remake for PlayStation 5, The Last of Us Part 1, and then you had Last of Us Part 2, and now Last of Us Part 2 is getting a graphical enhancement. It's getting strange, but aside from that, there actually does seem to be a good deal here in place for people. So if you already own Last of Us Part 2, you can get this edition for an additional $10. And with $10, not only do you get the very slight graphical enhancements, but you also get lost levels, full proper DualSense controller integration, new outfits, guitar free play, and a roguelike survival mode. So Rob, if you own Last of Us Part 2 for $10 USD, that's actually not bad. If it was like you had to buy it again, that's a bit dodgy. But at the very least, if you already own the game, you can pretty easily upgrade.
Definitely. You've got me. You've got me hook, line, and sinker. I see survival mode for $10.
A roguelike?
Get out of there.
I knew you would say that.
Yeah, dude. I am filthy that you didn't put it in to begin with, you sneaky bastards. But for $10, that's like 2 coffees. Yep. Yeah, you got me. You got me good. You got me good. Touche. Yeah. I'll give you my $10.
And it just gets more replayability out of a game. Like, I love Last of Us Part 1 and Part 2, but I can't bring myself to playing through the whole game again. But a roguelike survival mode, yeah, you jump in for a few weekends and smash it out. That's easily $10 worth of value, in my opinion.
Yep, definitely. You got me.
Yeah. But I will say they need to stop remastering stuff and finally release the next game, whether it's Part 3 or they're doing something completely different. I don't know if they're still doing, what's it called? The Last of Us multiplayer game. Apparently that was still planned. But let's see what Naughty Dog does next. But Rob, unless you have anything to talk about, that was our games news for this week.
No, that's it, mate. Like I said, still it should have been in the original game, but $10. $10, you got me.
Not an issue. So next segment is what we're watching, playing, and reading. Rob, have you been watching, playing, or reading anything new this week?
I have just finished reading We Hunt Monsters, Book 7. And cool. That book is sensational. Like I like it. Dude's so overpowered, it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. But his obstacles and his challenges always get bigger. I really like the way the author has broken, like he's put in a way that the character you can get your power creep, but the challenges get exponentially bigger and it makes sense. It's like a tower climber, but not. It's continents, right? So he's always got to get stronger because everything else is getting stronger. It's a really cool approach. Really cool approach. I highly vouch for it. But I will say, the best book I've ever read, is called Name of the Wind by Patrick Rothfuss. And the sequel, Wise Man's Fear. Best book I've ever read. It is like ridiculous. It's artwork. Reading it, I cannot vouch for it enough. The third book after, I don't know, it would have been like 10 years. There's a 10-year gap. Like has just released. So I'm trying to build up the courage to do a full reread. Hate doing that, but it's the type of book that deserves it. I won't read book 3 unless I reread 1, 2.
That's fair. Like otherwise, you're kind of forgetting about everything, and you can't connect all the references and the potential Easter eggs, and like who the hell was that character? You know, I get it. Yeah, and it's too good of a book to like. I just won't do it justice. So yeah, I highly recommend if you're looking for a book, that's the book to read. And in terms of playing, I've still been playing RimWorld. Dude. Like I play in commitment mode. And on hard settings with a bunch of mods that just make the game so hard. And so like my dude dies in like the second day. I get punched on, like I get raided. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. It's so hard. I get like 3 hours in and then everything just falls apart. I don't know. And I wonder why I do it myself. Like
Why do I keep starting again? Because I know, in my soul, I know that when I eventually get through it and I get that triumph, it's going to feel so sweet. So sweet, you know? Nothing, if it's worth having, what's the saying? I don't know. You got to fight for what you want. And I'm there for it. But that's what I've been doing.
Did you see all the comments from last week where people are like making fun of your PC breaking because you downloaded too many RimWorld mods?
Dude, yeah. And to be fair, they may have a point, because I got carried away at one point. Like, I got lazy and I just pressed collection, subscribe, and there was like 450 mods. And it was chuggy. Even the playthrough I have now is about 149 mods or 140 mods, and it gets chuggy because they're like high-powered mods.
Knowing what's going to happen next, this old PC that you're using right now, which I assume that you're playing it on, that's going to break too, and then you're going to have to wait for your new PC.
Let's fingers crossed, mate. Fingers crossed.
Yeah. But in terms of me, again, as I mentioned, I've still been playing through Spider-Man. It's like, I don't know, I play like 30 minutes to an hour at a time. I like it in short bursts, and then I'll go away and do something else. But I've been watching a hell of a lot of Jujutsu Kaisen. It is, Rob, I know it's not one of your favorites, but it's so freaking good. It's the Shibuya incident arc, and there was just the fight. I don't want to spoil people, actually, but it was just a really, really big fight. It's freaking awesome. And then I've gotten into that. You know when you watch an anime and you're like, oh, crap, I just want to watch a bunch of YouTube videos about it. Tell me everything about the manga. I'm on a bit of a binge right now. People are telling me about Jujutsu Kaisen and everything, all the sorcerers. I'm just hooked, man. I freaking love it. And I want to give a shout out to @KingRagnar616 asking, Jonny, have you watched Jujutsu Kaisen? Shout out to you, man. I absolutely have been, and I've been freaking loving it. Rob, you need to get into it, bro. I don't know what you're doing over there.
Mate, I watched the first season. I felt disrespected when they hit me with 3 flashbacks at the start of the second season, dude. But it's important. It's a matter of context. It's a matter of principle at this point. It's a matter of principle.
No.
You know?
Rob, it's so good. You've got it. All right, I want to say this, though, and you might, I don't know if you're going to be offended by this, right? Talk about being disrespected. Shield Hero Season 2 is trash. It is so bad. And I talked up Season 1. It's like, Season 1 is the most brilliant, one of the most brilliant animes that I've ever watched. It was fantastic. And then Season 2, this whole freaking Earth Turtle nonsense. I don't know what happened, man. Apparently Season 3 is better, but Season 2 just went off a cliff. What the hell? You knew it too, didn't you, little shit?
I can't remember Season 2 at the top of my head, dude. Like, I'm just laughing because anime has such a way of doing that.
Doesn't it?
You're probably right. So you're probably right.
Season 1 is very good, but Season 2 is trash, man. It's so bad.
Yeah.
Anyway, that is what I've been watching, playing, and I don't really read anything. Not enough time. But Rob, let's move on to the final segment of the podcast. As always, we try to answer as many of your questions as possible. This is technically some from last week, but a lot from the previous week as well, because we didn't have the chance to answer them since the podcast kind of broke. But first of all, let's see the question from @BrunoBarbosa4457. Question: what are some animes you guys would recommend to a beginner? I'm currently watching Vinland Saga, and I've watched AOT, Death Note, and Cyberpunk Edge Runners. Rob, you can take this. You're the anime expert. What would you recommend to a beginner?
I'm trying to put together his taste from what he's watched, but honestly, it just looks like he clicked popular on Crunchyroll and just started watching it from there, right?
Yeah.
What's a beginner? I don't know. Watch Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood, dude. I recommend that to everyone. It's so good.
Yeah.
It's so good. Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood's really, really good. It falls off. Like, the ending's a bit rushed. Okay, it's not a bad ending. It's just a bit rushed. But you've got like 40 episodes to get there, and that's of good episodes. No fillers or bullshit or anything like that. It's good. It's good. Watch that.
Or you just need to go into it accepting that pretty much like the last battle is like 2 episodes, and don't go in expecting this is going to be some grand epic thing. So long as you settle your expectations about that, as Rob said, the rest of it's amazing.
Or watch Goblin Slayer. You know, you'll find out real quick which side of the fence. You'll find out real quick which side of the fence you're on.
No beginner to anime should touch Goblin Slayer with a freaking 100-foot pole.
100%. Goblin Slayer 2's come out. I'm about to rewatch Goblin Slayer 1.
Terrible. No way.
It's great. I remember it's great. I love the simplicity of him.
No. Sure, but
mate,
like,
it's so good. The first episode is like a bit of a gauntlet of fire, right? But then you get through it, and the dude's a G. He would have to be one of the coolest main characters I've ever seen. Just no nonsense, there's no lines of morality. There's just him and killing goblins. That's it.
Yeah. Look, he's honestly the Doom Slayer of goblins, right? Like that's the best comparison if you think about it. Yeah.
But he's a medieval
skip
Doom
the
Slayer.
First episode. Don't listen to Rob.
No, don't
skip the first episode. You don't need to watch it. No.
Yes, you do, because that's what puts everything in context. It makes you hate goblins. You have to watch it. You have to. You can't hate goblins enough to enjoy the rest of the anime if you don't watch that first episode.
I disagree.
And
they could have done something different.
Let's be honest, bro. It's not like you've haven't thought what would really happen if we went adventuring with bipedal orcs and goblins, dude. Like,
I get what you're saying.
Half orcs, but half orcs are a thing.
I get what you're saying, but it's not a beginner anime. It is like when you've watched, again, AOT, Death Note, all the main ones in Crunchyroll, and you're looking for something a bit different, then you start considering anime like Goblin Slayer. I will say this, though, Rob. I want to know if you've watched the rest of it. I forgot to mention this. Have you watched Bungo Stray Dogs?
I started it, but fell off. It's got a lot of main characters for me.
Fair enough. I just started watching it. I'm 2 episodes in.
It's really good.
It's fun. I really like it.
Good.
Yeah.
It's like, it's pretty good. It's got a lot of main characters, and I don't like the shifting of perspective too much.
Fair enough. I will say, this is what I'll say. I started to notice this when I was watching Jujutsu Kaisen, and it's probably because it had been a while since I'd watched it previously. But there are so many names and so many characters that you have to be aware of. And when you go a little bit without watching an anime like that, you come back in, you're like, who the hell are half of these people? Like, it's aside from Yuji and Hanami and some of the main guys, all these random characters, I'm like, oh, fuck. That's why I'm watching YouTube videos, to kind of refresh my memory on what was in the movie and what was in the first season, because I'm like, who the hell is this dude? My memory is bad. So I kind of agree. Next question that we have is from @Sadith94. If you had to pick one character from Street Fighter to have all their abilities, who would you pick? Rob?
Ooh, that's a tricky one.
Can I say it can't be Akuma? Because Akuma, I think, is an obvious answer.
No. I'd probably pick M. Bison.
Oh, Psycho Power. That's a good one. Yeah, hell yeah.
Yeah, dude, that Psycho Power can teleport, bro. Like, come on.
Yeah.
Come on.
That's really good. No, I like it. I'm not going to say Ryu or Ken, because that's kind of obvious. I would probably say... this is a really, really hard one.
Pick Balrog.
No, Punch Hard? That's all he has. No actual powers.
You could do it now. Like, just start boxing. Get Balrog's power tomorrow.
You could say the same about Zangief, and you're just a wrestler, but you're a giant Russian wrestler.
Pick Zangief.
Zangief is a good shout. All right, here's who I'll say, and it's a bit of a funny choice, but how cool would it be to be Dalsim? If you really think about it, Dalsim will be sick.
I was going to say Dalsim. I don't know. He's a little weird, but...
Yeah, but stretchy arms, you blow fire. I reckon those are cool abilities to have. You can never break your arms or your bones because it's just all loose, you know? Next question that we have is from Mr. Lillian1. And Rob might make a bonus clip from this one, but let's see. Mr. Lillian1 asks, why is no one mentioning the fact that Aspinall took the fight on 14 days' notice? Pavlovich was the official backup and was training effectively for it. You know what was interesting, Rob? Barely anybody mentioned this when Jones and Stipe got cut and he was set to fight Pavlovich. I don't even think we mentioned it. No one mentioned the fact that Aspinall was coming off the couch effectively. Pavlovich was already training. And then he went on to do what he did. He freaking beat him. He knocked him out. That is crazy, right?
Yeah, I'm just trying to find now, like, didn't he have a fight not too far in front of it? I feel like it wasn't like out of nowhere. I'm pretty sure he fought
you're
like...
Right. Didn't he fight Tybora? Yeah, he fought Tybora in July.
Yeah, July, August, September, October, November. Yeah, it's 4 months. Yeah.
So it's a decent time.
Yeah. Yeah, he did win in the first round again. It's, you know, like it's not like he took a ton of damage and had to work himself out. I guess he probably should be getting more recognition for that fact, but I feel like it was, I don't know. I feel like it wasn't completely off guard.
I don't know, man.
I don't know.
Now that I think about it, I mean, 14 days notice, it's not so far removed from what Volk did and what Usman did. And he actually won it, and not just win it, but he won it convincingly by knockout in the first round against the arguably, I would say, hardest hitter in the UFC, in heavyweight of UFC, but God, you got to say that's Aspinall now, right? Because he's so quick.
Yeah. I could argue a bunch of different things, but you're 100% right. No, he needs his props. 14 days notice, hats off to him.
Yeah.
Go in there and perform as spectacularly as he did. Unreal.
For sure. Next question that we have is from @FillTheMark. Question for Rob and Jonny. Why do you think it feels as if games are improving too fast for consoles to keep up? This new console gen was supposed to be mind-blowing, but then we get Starfield locked at 30 frames per second. Rob, what do you reckon of this one?
I think games have always been ahead of the consoles. It obviously didn't start that way, but games quickly surpassed what consoles could keep up with. Because we have computers, right?
Yeah.
That's how I feel.
I mean, it's because there is a long time in between drinks. Console generations can go up to 7 years or whatever it is on average. There's no way that games can't not improve in the meantime. And I really do suspect you saw this especially with the PS4, where towards the end of the life cycle of the PS4, devs really figured that console out, and they were able to create amazing, really optimized titles. And the best title is The Last of Us as an example of that. I reckon as you get on in this console generation, because we're still about midway through or so, that titles will start to really ramp it up. You will see much better optimization, and you will see better frame rates because they've just figured out these consoles and they know what makes them tick. But I get it. It's mainly it. As Rob said, it's because new GPUs, new CPUs come out every year, and devs are like, well, we're going to obviously take advantage of that. We need to be able to use that hardware, and that's why games improve and consoles are kind of left behind. That's always the way that it's been, and it's the benefit of getting a PC. Next question is from Sean Ting 1518. Jonny, what did you think of Vinland Saga Season 2? Rob has mentioned that he loves anime that hits you. There is no other hard-hitting show out there than Vinland Saga 2. That is the realest statement that I've ever seen. Rob, I know
it's not.
Come on, man. Did you watch Season 2? Did you watch it?
I haven't watched it.
You can't say. You can't say.
Is Season 1 anything to go off?
I would say Season 2 is much better. Way, way better.
But is Season 1 anything to go off? Were there feels in Season 1?
Oh, for sure. But there was way more feels in Season 2.
No.
I would say, hold on. Listen for a second. Season 2, I think it really focused on character development, especially for Thorfinn and a lot of the main characters. Like the journey that they went on from the start to the end, that was way harder hitting to me than what we saw in season 1. And I really liked season 1, but season 2, bro, it just took it to another level. And you will hear a lot of people saying that this year, Vinland Saga Season 2 was probably one of the best anime drops, for sure. I know you don't like it, but it's true. It's objectively true. All right?
No, it's not objectively true. Like, who's saying this?
You and your mates.
You and all your mates.
Wait, please.
You, Seating 1518 and all your mates.
Rob, I'm gonna put you on game right now. Watch this. No, watch this. I'm gonna say, for anyone that's watched until this point in the episode, if you've watched Vinland Saga Season 2, leave your honest thoughts in the comments below. I won't influence you either way. And let's just see what happens. All right? Because
honest thoughts
I reckon they're gonna
anime of the year.
A Vinland Saga Season 2.
That's what you said. You said anime of the year.
I'm asking their opinion. In some people's opinions, not necessarily mine. I would say it's up there though, for sure.
It's nah.
Let's see what people say in the comments.
Of this year, maybe. I don't know. This year's anime was how you going.
I didn't say all time. I said this year. I said this year.
Yeah. This year hasn't been great. I'm sure. No, maybe.
I don't know. I reckon this year's been all right. Maybe. There's been some hitters. But yeah, let's see what people in the comments say.
You know what? I like that Mushoku Tenshi or whatever it's called is so good. Like,
I haven't watched that yet, actually.
So good. Like Mushoku. It's so good. It is puts you on a roller coaster because it goes like real serious, not serious, real serious. Like it's a bit weird. It's a really good one. I reckon it's better than Vinland Saga easily.
I'll give it I need to give it a watch.
I reckon so. If you want feels, if you want feels, okay, everyone who thinks they want feels in anime, watch You Lie in April. Watch that anime.
When was that released? Was that a while back?
Ridiculous. Made me cry. Not gonna lie. I'm man enough to say it. It made me cry.
All right.
Yeah.
All right.
Hits hard.
It's being added to the watch list. I hope that I'm able to find it on Crunchyroll.
So
there's a few. It's so annoying, bro. I don't know why. This is an Australian specific thing. Even though Crunchyroll and Funimation should have merged already, there's some anime that only has the first season on Funimation still. It does my head in. And what was it? Full Metal Alchemist was the exact same. Why?
Yeah, and I'm not about to subscribe to both. It pisses me off.
No! One Punch Man as well. We can't watch it in Australia unless we're on Funimation. It's so stupid.
It's so annoying.
Anyways, most serious question of the podcast to wrap things up. At MMArcade, great name.
I'm ready.
Been loving the podcast, boys. Now time to get down to the nitty-gritty. Would you rather have 2 meter long arms or 6-inch legs? Rob?
That's like as in only 6 inches of leg?
Of leg? Yeah.
Like only this much? Is that really a question? Like, I would 100% get 2 meter long arms. I'd get 2 meter long arms right this second if I could. I don't need. I'd like either either. Like I'd just take it if they offered it. If they do come to my house and said, "Bro, I can give you 2 meter long arms," I'd take it.
Could you imagine when they're reading out your UFC stats and your reach is like 2 meters?
I'd be keeping people away from my jab in the car park. He'd be in the octagon, and I'd be smoking him at the end of my jab from down the hallway. It'd be sick, dude. Don't tell me it wouldn't. Think of the body lock I'd have.
Could you imagine touching gloves with 2 meter arms?
Bro, I'd be able to fight him from my seat. You know what I mean? I'd be able to fight him from the first row of the arena. That would be the best. It's not even a hardcore question. Go, make my day and tell me you'd go for 6-inch legs. Make my day and tell me and argue with me that you would have 6-inch legs, dude. You'd be able to ride one of those, like the little monkey on a tricycle with the cymbals. You'd be able to ride one of those too with a huge torso. Like,
that is probably the hardest I've laughed on the podcast. I'm actually crying. Oh my God. That is episode 27 of the MMArcade podcast. Holy shit, that was so funny. Oh, keep the questions coming. That was freaking great.
Yes. Yes, please. Please do keep the questions coming. Even if we don't answer your questions at the end, we do have a bank where we're saving heaps of them up, or we try to get it to the week after. But also, we do digest a lot of the comments and incorporate that into our rundown, into our run sheet the week for next week's episode. You see actively how much we utilize your suggestions and comments and recommendations in how we structure the cast and what we're talking about. So, thank you very much for all those suggestion comments. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, and do all the other bits and bobs. Tell your friends from your window, yada, yada, yada.